The chime of the bell beckons us into a sacred time Good morning and welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Houston, where we widen love's circle by honoring the inherent worth and dignity of all. We extend a heartfelt and inclusive invitation for you to join us in meaningful worship and in service to the world. Buenos días y bienvenidos a esta comunidad donde ampliamos el círculo del amor, honrando el valor y la dignidad inherentes de todos. We greet all those who join us this morning on this first Sunday in 2025. We hope those watching the live stream will fill out the online attendance form and refer to the many announcements in the online order of service. We ask those here in person to take a moment after the service to introduce yourself to someone you don't yet know. Now I invite you to turn in your gray hymnals to number 347, Gather the Spirit. Please rise in body or in spirit and join your voices in song.
On this, the first Sunday of a new year, we take to heart the words of Winston Churchill. The farther backward you can look, the farther forward you can see. This day, we gather in community to look backward and consider our past concerns, to relive our past joys, and to remember those whose passing we mourned this past year. This day, we gather in community to examine those lives and learn from their successes and missteps, that we might keep alive their legacies and keep alive our love for them. We look backwards so that we can more successfully, more lovingly, and with more kindness look forward to move into the new year. Come, let us worship together.
Celebremos compartiendo nuestras vidas, encendiendo esa luz.
On Christmas Eve, we lit the 4 candles on the Advent wreath, as well as the center Christ candle, to mark the beginning of Christmastide and the 12 days of Christmas. We light the Christ candle once again as this evening marks the last night of the 12 days of Christmas and the beginning of Epiphany-tide.
Please join with me in reciting the Congregational Covenant with the words set forth in your order of service. Love is the spirit of our congregation. Service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek truth in love, and to encourage one another. Thus do we covenant.
Come down from the tree. Just open your arms and trust. You know in your heart that one of these days you must come down from the tree. It's easy to feel afraid and heart giving up that safe little nest you've made. When you have something so warm and familiar to cling to, your arms won't let go. You close your eyes to the dark, press your nose to the bark, and hold on. Yes, I know. But down below is where you must be, and what you were meant to do. So hold out your hand and listen to someone who was once in a tree like you. La 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 la. Soon you'll have someone so warm and familiar to cling to and love till you die. When your heart knows what it needs, you must go where it leads. Leave the nest, learn to fly. And that's why I came down from my tree. And all that I held so dear, when I found my love, the rest of my life was clear. Come down from your tree. Come down. I'm here.
All right, now's the time that the young folks are going to go to a different room, but they're going to do something kind of the same as what we're doing here. They're going to talk about the New Year's, think about ways that maybe they might be able to make it an even better year than last year, some things they did last year that they may want to do different this year. And they are probably going to write some of that down on pieces of paper, too. And Carol's going to take them out, and they're going to get to go do these fun activities while you all have to stay here and listen to me. It's going to be, okay. All right. Now, if the adults will look in their order of service, you will find the lyrics to As You Go, which you can sing as the kids go out. As we immerse ourselves in a season when we reflect on the year past and how we may become kinder and more loving in the year ahead, please join in a time that some call meditation and others name prayer. In a season of hurry and hassle, breathe out the sorrow, the division, and the stress. In a season of endings and beginnings, breathe with me the breath of life. In a season of peace and goodwill, breathe in for loving, for acceptance, and with a sense of calm. Inhale as we share this interwoven, intricate web of affinity. Exhale as we feel one another's presence. Breathe with me as we gather to do the holy work of kinship and support. Open your mind, open your heart. Today I share this New Year's prayer by Ade Ama Kraba. God of many names and mystery beyond all our naming, let this year be a clean slate for new beginnings. I pray for stamina to finish things left uncompleted, to call on people I neglected last year. I pray for courage to rally in the cause for peace and justice, to speak out in support when others remain silent. I pray for empathy, to better understand the pain and suffering of others, to continue engaging heart to heart. I pray for patience when seeking resolutions to problems, when seeking a new beginning after an ending. I pray for creativity in seeking new meaning in service, engaging others in service to the beloved community. I pray for peace between friends and families, between communities and countries. All these things I pray for in this time of beginning, in this new year. We pray in the names of all those known and unknown, present and absent, remembered and forgotten. We pray in the names of all helpers of humankind. Amen. We pause now together to lift up that which sits heavy and light on our hearts. Our hearts go out to all those recovering from the attack on the pedestrians in New Orleans, and our condolences to the families of all those killed. Becky Moore recently had a medical procedure and is recovering at home, as is Deborah Harris, Jeff Watson's wife. Marilyn King is preparing for an operation, and we send our love and healing wishes to all of these. Marcella Wilson has begun a series of treatments for a health concern, and we wish her well. Larry Wadler, PD's father, remains hospitalized after suffering a fracture on Christmas Day. We hold them both in our hearts during this difficult time. We send our condolences to Chandler Wilkerson, whose mother, Sherry, just passed away. Our hearts go out to their entire family. Our congregation remains susceptible to COVID. Please wear a mask, especially indoors, if you have concerns. We now turn to a practice inspired by African, indigenous, and pagan traditions. We say aloud or bring to mind those who we wish to be held by the loving embrace of this religious community. They are part of the great cloud of witness and memory, and we will, even if we do not know their names, hold them in our hearts. In this great cloud of witness and memory, amid this beloved community, we hear these names and hold them in our hearts. Let us remember the suffering and joy amid and among our community that we do not know. We now enter into a time of stillness. Even in this stillness, we sense the winds of change. Even when it feels like nothing is happening, transformation is taking place. In the spirit of love, hope, and compassion, we enter into a time of silent prayer, meditation, and transformation.
Each week, our morning offering is shared with an organization which shares our Unitarian Universalist values and through which we may live out our principles in the world. This week, we are donating to fund art exhibitions to honor Uvalde families. On the day of mourning for the victims of gun violence held here last April, artist Sarah Suthoff debuted her performance and installation entitled Breach of Protocol to bring attention to gun violence. Her ongoing series, entitled Not a Drill, includes involvement with the community devastated by the 2022 shooting in Uvalde, Texas. This morning, it is my great honor to welcome artist Sarah Suthoff to tell us more.
Thank you for having me. I had the pleasure, as Connie mentioned last April, to do a performance and installation here. And Leslie Morrison, who's here, and her family helped participate or support me in that exhibition or in that performance. Since then, I've been working on my Not a Drill series to raise awareness about gun violence, and I've attended many beautiful events here with Sheila Lee Jackson before she passed, after the Lakewood shooting. And in May, the Uvalde families reached out to me and asked for my help. They asked me to photograph their children's shoes that they were wearing at the time of their death. Oh, thank you. And it was such a hard ask. And it's not something I ever could have asked of them. It was something that had to come from them and ask of me, and I agreed. And they also asked for me to help secure a space. They wanted to have an exhibition in Austin, so I helped find that. And in August, I photographed the shoes. I also photographed the families holding their children's shoes. And that exhibition opens Friday. And so I just came back from Austin. It's partially installed. And I will return on Wednesday to finish. And it opens to the families on Thursday. It opens to the public on Friday. And then Saturday is a full day of panel discussions about the project. And I'm part of the last panel about art and activism and advocacy. So if you want to know more about the exhibition, please, you can ask me after. But the exhibition is called 77 Minutes in Their Shoes. And as I mentioned in this morning's service, it's such a challenging topic. I barely made it through the conversation this morning without crying, but I feel very honored that I was asked to take on this role. So thank you for your support.
For those of you who are not familiar with Sarah, I've known her since she was a little girl, and she is a premier photographer, not only in Harris County and in Houston, in Texas, and nationally. She has many publications national publications in which she has been featured. She's a terrific person and a wonderful, warm heart. Those in our sanctuary will find the instructions for text giving in the order of service next to the name of the shared offering recipient. And those watching the live streams will see the instructions on your screen. Our regular Sunday morning offering collection invites us to weave a tapestry of love and action. We ask you to give generously. An offering will now be gratefully received.
Please join with me in saying the words to dedicate the offering, which you can find in your order of service. To the work of this church, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action, we dedicate our lives and these our offerings. Some of our friends in other denominations also have two readings in each service, but it's often one from the Old Testament and one from the New Testament. Hebrew Bible, I should have said rather than Old Testament, and the New Testament. We sometimes do that, but not always. The first reading today is from a Facebook post. Jeffrey F. Fiola, company manager for Broadway and national tours. This is his post on Broadway Remembered Facebook page from October 1st, 2024. To those of you looking to work in professional theater, those of you that are looking to be part of the Broadway community, yes, you should be on top of your craft, but mostly do a deep dive into what people said about Marin Maisie after she left us. Do a deep dive into what the community has to say about Rebecca Luker. Do a deep dive about Gavin Creel's kindness. No one cares how talented you are, but how kind are you? How likely are you to lift other people up? Newsflash, talent is a dime a dozen, but how you treat people and the impact that you make is what matters. Rest in peace to all our Broadway babies. Here ends the first reading.
Our second reading this morning is Quilts by Nikki Giovanni. Like a fading piece of cloth, I am a failure. No longer do I cover tables filled with food and laughter. My seams are frayed, my hems falling, my strength no longer able to hold the hot and cold. I wish for those first days when just woven I could keep water from seeping through repelled stains with the tightness of my weave, dazzle the sunlight with my reflection. I grow old, though pleased with my memories. The tasks I can no longer complete are balanced by the love of the tasks gone past. I offer no apology, only this plea. When I am frayed and strained and drizzle at the end, please someone cut a square and put me in a quilt, that I might keep some child warm, and some old person with no one else to talk to will hear my whispers and cuddle near. Here ends the second reading.
Is it warm? Is it soft against your face? Do you feel a kind of grace inside the breeze? Will there be trees? Is there light? Does it hover on the ground? Does it shine from all around, or just from you? Is it endless and empty and you wander on your own? Slowly forget about the folks that you have known. Or does the rising red fill up the air from open just the same. Only heaven knows how glory goes, what each of us was meant to be. In the sunlight, that is what we are. I can see so
Thank you so much. Each year at this time, I look back at the lives of some of those we lost last year. As I review the lives of some of these people, I look for qualities they had which may inspire us, and each year themes tend to bubble up. I went back and checked, and it seems I've done this each year since I began serving here. Well, except for last year. Reverend Colin graciously preached the sermon while I was in Kentucky, grieving the loss of both of my parents. I sent him the notes I had made up to that point, which were really little more than names I recognized from publicized lists of the recently deceased. These lists are invariably laden with entertainers, sports figures, and politicians. He understandably wondered aloud what he was to do with such a list, which I think strongly prompts the question, what makes a life successful? A theme that emerged for me this year is appreciating the good qualities of those who may have had success in their chosen field, but will be most remembered for their kindness and humanity. Now, I know I wasn't the only one in this community who lost someone very close to me this year. And I know that while I may find redeeming qualities in more well-known lives to talk about, it's typically those closest to us who influenced us most mightily. And they are the ones we will no doubt miss the most. So, while my sister and I technically lost our parents in December of 2023, I thought it would be odd if I didn't at least give them a shout out today. All the kids at school knew my parents. Mom was room mother in elementary school, helping to organize the Christmas party and outings, and providing homemade cupcakes. Yes, Christmas parties, not holiday parties, because everyone was assumed to be Christian back then. And it was before both parents had to work full-time to make ends meet. And because it was a different time, Dad and I were in Indian Guides, the precursor to Y Guides, in what is now recognized as cultural appropriation. We were awarded feathers for competing projects, and we built a full-size teepee that was displayed at camp to the envy of the other, less ambitious tribes. By high school, they were the quintessential band parents, riding the school buses with the marching band to away games and chaperoning weekend contests. I didn't realize the level of support they were providing me and my siblings until I realized that the parents of some of the other kids never came to even one game to see them march. From the 9th grade play to high school musicals to graduate school, they would be there in the audience. They would drive 2 hours to my college to see me in plays, and would later drive from Kentucky to Fort Worth to see the designs I did for the Miss Texas telecast. The only thing my dad couldn't bring himself to watch was when I did sets and props at the Cincinnati Opera. The Grand Ole Opry was more his speed than people singing loudly in a foreign language. They proudly made the trip to Fort Worth to attend my graduation from seminary, but became too impaired to attend my ordination. But my niece made sure they could watch the live stream from their living room. It would be difficult to overstate how kind and supportive my parents were. Two categories of people I will talk about could have been anticipated by the shopping algorithm on my computer. I've often joked that virtually all the books I buy are theology books, and all the music I buy is original cast albums of Broadway shows. You may remember, but will be forgiven if you don't, that I have mentioned something called process theology on occasion. It jettisons some of what I find the problematic assumed attributes of a deity, but includes some I find more befitting an entity worthy of the concept of God. Plus, I love the idea that it flies in the face of taking the assumptions of others at face value. Because someone says God is defined doesn't mean they are. In fact, the opposite is true. You cannot describe the ineffable. So my concept is no less right or wrong than yours. Well, with one caveat. If your God is hateful, you're unequivocally wrong. Thank you. I didn't know that was an applause line, but I love it. In process theology, it is an essential attribute of God to affect and be affected by temporal processes, contrary to the forms of theism that hold God to be, in all respects, non-temporal, eternal, unchanging, immutable, and unaffected by the world, impassible. Now, my way of simplifying this idea is to think of whatever that divine entity is, continuously drawing us towards the good. But we are the ones who choose. We make decisions. And once our decisions are made and acted on, God takes note, probably rolls their eyes, and begins drawing us toward the good again. God is involved, but is neither a judgmental taskmaster or an ATM in the sky. More like a loving partner who supports and guides us. These are qualities I believe the divine would have. Alfred North Whitehead, the English mathematician and philosopher, created the philosophical school known as process philosophy, which has been applied in a wide variety of disciplines, including theology, ecology, and physics. John B. Cobb Jr., the preeminent scholar in the field of process philosophy and process theology, died on December 26th. He penned more than 50 books. Well known for his transdisciplinary approach, he integrated insights from many different areas of study and was influential in a wide range of disciplines, including theology, ecology, economics, biology, and social ethics. A unifying theme of his work is an emphasis on ecological interdependence, the idea that every part of the ecosystem is reliant on all the other parts. In his 2010 book, Spiritual Bankruptcy, A Prophetic Call to Action, he wrote something that may be even more true 15 years later. Economism is the view that the economy is the most important part of society, and that the other dimensions, such as politics and education, should serve it. Economism has become the ruling ideology, not because of claims of economists, but because of the decisions of political leaders, financiers, corporate leaders, and the general public. Liberation theology is a theological approach emphasizing the liberation of the oppressed. Its roots can be traced to Catholic Action, a movement of lay people within the Catholic Church, which advocates for increased Catholic influence on society and the influence of the Second Vatican Council, which inspired new approaches to addressing systemic poverty and inequality in Latin America. Liberation theology engages in socioeconomic analyses with social concern for the poor, The movement's use of concepts like class struggle and the critique of global capitalism led to significant controversy within the Catholic Church. Pope John Paul II criticized the movement for what he perceived as excessive politicization and the alignment with communist ideologies. Despite this opposition, liberation theology influenced political and social movements across Latin America. The Reverend Gustavo Gutierrez, known as the father of liberation theology, passed away in October at the age of 96. His 1971 book, A Theology of Liberation, is considered pivotal to the formation of liberation theology. He helped popularize the phrase preferential option for the poor, which advises that Christian faithful are obliged to promote social justice and assist the poor. Described as a Marxist by his critics and under Vatican scrutiny for most of his career, he and his work were partly rehabilitated under Pope Francis. In what is considered a historic moment, Francis celebrated Mass with Gutierrez in 2013 at the papal residence home in the Vatican, accompanied by the conservative Cardinal Gerhard Müller. The welcome shown the priest represented a shift in the Vatican's attitude toward liberation theology. In 2007, the group Red Letter Christians was founded with the aim of bringing together evangelicals who believe in the importance of working on issues of social justice mentioned by Jesus. In some translations of the Bible, those words are in red. They point to that text in red and Jesus' example to promote social justice issues, including fighting poverty, advocating for peace, building strong families, respecting human rights, and welcoming foreigners. Tony Campolo, who founded Red Letter Christians along with Shane Claiborne, passed away in November. I find it interesting that both Gustavo Gutierrez and Tony Campolo were often opposed by the Christian right for advocating for exactly what Jesus taught and modeled. Their influence and hard work will be missed. Just as I said, most of the books I buy are related to theology. Most of the music I buy is Broadway original cast albums. I have been blessed in ways I could never have foreseen when my parents were dutifully watching me sing and dance in high school. Conrad and I have been able to go on cruises with and meet some Broadway stars, some of whom I listened to on LPs when I was in high school. On our first cruise, we met Chita Rivera. Performing for nearly 6 decades, she won 2 Tony Awards, 2 Drama Desk Awards, was the first Latina to receive a Kennedy Center honor, and the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Undoubtedly one of the most talented people to ever appear on Broadway. But in our first reading we heard, "But how kind are you? How likely are you to lift other people up?" When I think of Chita Rivera, I think of an act of thoughtfulness that I witnessed. The cruise organizers would invite cabaret performers to sing at various times in the lounge venues around the ship. She was always gracious to all these local performers who, of course, thought the world of her. Once when she was performing, someone spotted her in the audience and hurried over to ask her for a photo. She said of course she would, but she said she wanted to wait until the performer was finished. She didn't want to distract during someone else's performance. She was kind, classy, and lifted other people up. Chita Rivera passed away in January. On 2 other cruises, we met Gavin Creel, an immensely talented man who had won a Grammy Award, a Tony Award, a Drama Desk Award, and an Olivier Award. But we heard about his kindness before ever meeting him. On a previous cruise, we had met Krista Rodriguez, the Broadway and TV performer. In 2014, she was diagnosed with breast cancer. According to what she told us, well, she knew but wasn't friends with Gavin. He phoned her and said, "I'm going to be your person. I'll take you to the doctor, bring you food, whatever you need." And he did. Gavin was one of those people who just sort of radiated good energy. He was also introspective and meditative. On the last cruise we were on, he had purchased this colorful caftan at one of the ports we stopped at. Thereafter, he could often be seen on the ship, not just at the pool, joyfully cavorting in his new purchase. In July, he was diagnosed with a rare form of cancer and died from the disease in September at the age of 48. At his memorial, which was live-streamed from the St. James Theater on Broadway, person after person said what an amazing, introspective, joyful person he was. The Broadway inspirational voices with whom he had sung performed. Kelly O'Hara sang "How Glory Goes," the song Jolie just sang. Again, from our first reading. To those of you looking to work in professional theater, those of you that are looking to be part of the Broadway community, yes, you should be on top of your craft, but mostly do a deep dive about Gavin Creel's kindness. No one cares how talented you are, but how kind are you? How likely are you to lift other people up? Talent is a dime a dozen, but how you treat people and the impact that you make is what matters. How you treat people and the impact that you make is what matters. This was true of these two performers, arguably more than the chosen professions they excelled at. The same is true of Jimmy Carter, who passed away last week at the age of 100. People disagree about how successful his presidency was, perhaps because it foregrounded kindness and humility rather than the bombast and saber-rattling of his successor. But it is undisputed that he was the most successful former president ever by how he treated people and the impact he made. His legacy was built from his post-presidential life. Unlike other past presidents, he didn't socialize with billionaires, and he declined both paid speaking engagements and invitations to join corporate boards. Hundreds of visitors would arrive at the tiny Maranatha Baptist Church to attend a former president's Sunday school class. Maranatha was formed in 1977 by a group of worshipers from Plains Baptist Church who splintered off when that congregation voted to uphold a ban against allowing black people to join. 1977. But he did more than teach Sunday school. He continued to work toward global peace and meet with international leaders. He established the Carter Center, a nonprofit launched to help eradicate disease. And well into his 90s, he worked with Habitat for Humanity to help build and repair homes. When so many politicians today are so breathtakingly self-focused and uncaring of others, it's gratifying to remember a man who was so genuinely warm and good. The Washington Post in 2017 proclaimed President Carter the most affable living president when a video spread on social media of him shaking hands with everyone on a flight from Atlanta to Washington. President Carter made a huge impact once retiring. Talented Broadway performers are remembered for their kindness. Theologians challenge the way we view the divine in our responsibility to the world and the oppressed. The theme that bubbled up for me this year was appreciating the good qualities of those who had success in their chosen field, but may be most remembered for their kindness and humility. I didn't mention that my dad was an airline gate agent for years, a favorite of his coworkers and passengers. Once an empty nester, my mom cheerfully and knowledgeably helped couples choose items to list on their bridal registry at a department store. But, like Broadway stars and at least one former president, their kindness outshone their accomplishments in their chosen field. I couldn't really decide how to end this sermon today, but this poem came to my mind as I wandered the aisles of H-E-B yesterday. I had read it for years, but it has a much more profound resonance for me today. It's by Ralph Waldo Emerson. To laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics and endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate beauty, to find the best in others, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, or a redeemed social condition. To know even one life has breathed easier because you lived. This is to have succeeded. Amen.
I invite you to open your gray hymnals to number 103, For All the Saints. Please rise in body or in spirit and join your voices in song.
Extinguishing the chalice with the words set forth in your order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
The benediction I chose for today is inspired by our ancestors, by Leah Durland Jones. For those who came before us, we offer gratitude and thanks. May their memories be a blessing. May we feel surrounded by their love. As we go forth from this time and place, let us be inspired by their courage, their wisdom, and their dreams. Let us honor them by doing the work of living boldly, loving mightily, and creating heaven on earth. Amen, and blessed be.
Read a book on Hemingway, closed my eyes to see the man himself appeared to say, to write is just to breathe. So I won't write it down, all the jagged edges, the ugliness I've seen, until I change the truth, rearrange the letters for beauty underneath. Dear hope, if you can hear me, don't go. I don't feel you now, but I know you're there. Dear hope, I could really use you now. Throw me a rope, throw me a rope, dear hope. I can't seem to shake it yet, the feeling that things may never change. It always breaks my heart when broken parts ache to heal again. So I will write it down and make jagged edges into something I can hold. Don't wanna lose my way like dear Hemingway, so I won't let go. Dear hope, if you can hear me, don't go. I can't feel you now, but I know you're there. Dear hope, I could really use you now. Throw me a rope, throw me a rope, throw me a rope, throw me a rope, dear hope, dear hope.
Thank you for joining us. We want to know who you are and would love to connect with you. Please fill out the link to the online attendance form, and if you are on YouTube, click like and subscribe. If you're interested in joining our congregation, email us at membership@firstuuhouston.org. Thanks so much.